Alright, here we are, back in the Mage Knight board game. We are commencing with day 3, which is the 5th round out of 6 in our solo conquest playthrough with Tovak as our Mage Knight. And the situation is that we're in pretty good shape in terms of the overall power curve. We are real close to the first city. We have only one core tile left to expose, and therefore we know wherever we put it down is going to be the next city. So we know pretty much where it's going to be. Depending on where I want to put it, I might drop it here. No, I can't drop it here. I might drop it here. I might drop it here. I can't throw it down up here because it has to be adjacent to 2. So it's in one of those 2 spots, and it is what it is. Now, the tactical situation that I'm in right now, or I should say strategic position that I'm in right now, is that I'm not too worried about being able to finish by the end of the 3rd night. In other words, to win the game in the time allowed. Taking this city, being right next to the other city, I'm going to be able to knock this thing out pretty quick. And if I don't take too many wounds, I can take that towards the end of the day and have all night long to move over one tile and take out that city. Not too worried about being able to accomplish that. So now, for the first time in this playthrough, I'm going to start thinking, while I've been maintaining a pretty good clip, and I've actually gotten a lot of fame by just kind of keeping moving. There's really only one moment when I got a little bit bogged down with those monasteries. But other than that, I've been able to keep a pretty steady pace without acquiring, I don't think, too many wounds. I think I've maybe taken a wound that I got rid of right away, something like that. So for the first time, I'm like really focused on, maybe I don't want to go straight for the city and take that out. Maybe I want to start thinking about maximizing my score for the end game, since I do feel pretty comfortable about where I am. Now, I don't probably want to go back too far. So for instance, if I was worried about this, given that I own 3 keeps, one play would be to move back here, next to the keep, possibly even here, and do something in the mage tower, like get a spell or something like that, in order to draw 3 more cards next round, next turn, so that I can then have those extra cards to assault the keep. The problem is that's going to be at least 5 extra movement, 5 or 6 extra movement. Well, if I don't clear this guy out first, I'll have to leave there, go here, and then here to be in the same place that I am right now. So I lose a turn out of the day to get 3 cards, at least 1 or 2 of which is going to be used up just getting back to where I am. So that's all kinds of foolishness. Now I might consider backtracking back here to get some points, or a tomb to get some nice rewards, but that's a lot of ugly terrain between me and that I will want to come back to the city through once I'm done with that. And I've got a pretty good swath of things to take care of here before taking out this city. So what I'm thinking of, well, this is the least appealing of all of these, because if you remember our units, we've got 2 nice gold units that are on offer. One of them's recruitable in the city. Another one is only recruitable in a tower, a keep or a mage tower. But there's a ruin here that gives you a free unit. Allows you to recruit a unit for free. It's a tougher fight, but I'm thinking what I might do to have my best shot at maximizing everything is, I think I'm gonna grab this tower really quick while I'm here, move onto this plane, this wasteland, and take stock of what's in that city. I may take out that dragon before assaulting the city, possibly after assaulting the city, possibly at the same time as assaulting that city. But thinking I want to grab this first to get the points for that and a free spell. And then if I go here and then assault the city, the dragon will join in because he's a rampaging enemy, and if you move adjacent to him, even when you're assaulting a city, he'll hop in. Now, I don't have to beat him to still take the city, so I could assault that city, deal with him just by blocking, or maybe eat some damage, although he's brutal, so he's going to be doing 12 points of damage if I don't take care of him. But I could take that city, leave him alive, and still own the city. But then what do I do? And he's a good chunk of points and reputation. And remember, when I get in here, the Red City has an option for allowing me to recruit those guardians and also grab an artifact as well as an option. So what I'm thinking is hit this guy, come down here, hit this guy, take the city, and then see what I have left after the end of that. I should have something left because this, I mean, it's a bit of a tall order, but I'm pretty strong right now. I have a lot of units. So I'm thinking, hit that, come here, hit that, take the city, and then either explore to flop the next tower over here from this hill, or possibly consider snagging this if I can for a free unit. Because remember, a free unit is going to replace, even if I'm out of spots, I can replace an older unit. So I could grab one of those gold units and replace like my swordsman or something with them. So that's where I'm at right now in the strategic situation. Remember, I have the heroes, the Red Cape Monks, the Altum Guardians, and my swordsman. I got some nice skills, including a movement skill, which back in the daytime is going to allow me, sorry, this is the movement skill, and it's day again, so I'm going to get 2 points. So that's a plane of movement for free. It's a tile flop for free. It's going to make it real easy to get into wastelands and the like. So daytime, this skill makes me real happy. And before I assault that city, I do have motivation, which is going to allow me to just grab 2 free extra cards like I plundered a village and get a blue token on top of it just for free because it's solo. I got combat skills, I've got versatility with I don't give a damn, and I've got some crystals, although it's only green and red right now. But I do got a lot of stuff to play with, and I got 28 cards in my deck, which means 12 of those 28 are spells, artifacts, and advanced actions. So we're in pretty good shape. I'm liking where we're at right now, and I think we have a plan. All that's left really is to take a look at our tactic. And this decision is going to be pretty nice as well, because when we look at the one option here, the right moment, number 6, one time this day during your turn, you can announce that you'll just take another turn. So it gives you 2 turns in a row. Very, very nice. However, it's essentially useless to me in this scenario. Okay, it can be nice in a multiplayer game. It's kind of a backward way of sort of getting to go first. In that, in a multiplayer game, getting 2 turns, like on your first turn, is essentially like going back and getting to go before everybody else, even if you didn't initially. And then if you're able to blow through a bunch of cards right there, you can really put your competition in a bad way, because if you get 2 turns on the first go-round and you burn through a bunch of cards, suddenly everybody else is like, oh crap, I'm under the gun time-wise. So you can wreak havoc on your competitors with this card. However, against a dummy, getting 2 turns but going second is no different than going first. Absolutely no different than going first versus the dummy. It's exactly the same. So it does me essentially no good to grab this card versus the other card, which will by definition have a lower number at this point. And planning on top of that gives me a really nice feature, and that is as long as I didn't use up like the majority of my hand, as long as I have at least 2 cards left in my hand, I get to draw an extra card. So it's just going to increase my hand size, and it's most likely going to make assaulting that city that much easier. So planning is most definitely what I'm going to take, because it gives me something. It actually gives me something really nice on top of giving me everything that the other card would. So I'll go ahead and give that to the dummy player, and I remain going first. And yeah, that is pretty much where we are at. The dice in the pool are pretty good. We've got a gold die to play with. A white and a blue gives us some flexibility there. So we're in pretty good shape. There's really not a lot left to do except dive in. So we're going to begin by drawing our hand. I should have drawn my hand technically before grabbing the tactic, but knowing what tactics were in there, it didn't really matter. So once again, here's my initial plan. We'll see if it bears fruit, but I'm gonna go be ballsy, and rather than hit that city and then backtrack to grab this later, I'm gonna bank on being able to grab it before hitting that city and taking these guys out, because I got 28 cards and a bunch of units. I think I'm going to be able to do that. There's only 3 units in this city. So I'm not super worried. If I have to assault it twice, I'll assault it twice. That's not a problem, especially given that I, again, have this skill that allows me to get 2 extra cards into my hand. And I am, on top of that, I'm not super close, but with a dragon and a mage tower, the dragon alone, if I take him out, is going to bring me up to 74. The mage tower might potentially, I might even gain a level down here. That's a possibility. If I do, then as a result of that, my hand size will actually be bigger. So between the hand size increase, planning, and motivation, I could have a pretty big hand by the time it comes to assaulting that city. So I'm definitely not worried about that, and therefore I'm going to be aggressive and take this tower, assuming my cards give me a way to do that. It's helpful that I know exactly what's in that tower because I'm next to it during the daytime. So we'll draw our cards and see what we get. And we are looking at some nice combat cards here, actually. We got our favorite combination again. So that's Siege 5. That's a way to do this. If you recall, these guys have 5 armor and fire resistance. So that's a way to go. But I also, I might want to save this because it's such a nice attack. I might want to save this for the city, because I also have cold toughness and I have whirlwind. Now whirlwind is really nice when you're assaulting a city because you have so many attacks coming at you, but at the same time I do have the guardians, and if I'm bringing this, I'm probably going to be able to kill something with that. There's a chance I'll be able to kill something with that. And these guys can block a lot of stuff. I can also tap the units you control gain no resistances, which is going to allow me some flexibility with this guy having 7 armor to just eat an attack without actually even being wounded. So when I go into that city, if I keep this, I'm going to have some options. On top of course, whatever massive hand that I'm drawing. So what I'm thinking is I save Whirlwind for that dragon. Use Cold Toughness on the mages, and then just find a way, especially because I have Cold Swordsmanship, helping me out every turn. I shouldn't have much trouble killing that guy because he's just got fire resistance, so my only thing that I would need to worry about there is the Red Cape Monks. I do have to get into that tower, which means I do have to play some movement to get in there, and it is on, I believe, a hill. Yeah, it's on a hill, so I need 3 points of movement to do that. So, unfortunately, I don't have any movement cards. I do have double time, but that only gives me 2 points of movement. So I need to think about how I want to get in there. And I'm thinking that Chivalry is probably what I'm going to play with Cold Toughness to kill this guy. Let me just grab him. Yeah, I know this is what I'm going to do. So let me grab him and pull him down here for reference. He's got 6 attack, fire attack, but if I play Cold Toughness, stronger effect, I get 6 ice block. Because it's 5 ice block plus 1 for each color of the attack, and it does have the red color. So that's 5 plus 1 is 6, and it's ice block, which is efficient against the fire block. And therefore that will save me from any wounds. I can then use Cold Swordsmanship, and I can actually use this with either the physical or the ice because he's resistant only to fire. So either will be efficient, and then that's 2 points, and I can play Chivalry for 3 to take him out. So I think that's what I want to do. And yeah, that'll give me plenty to take him out. And that'll allow me to save Whirlwind, Concentration, and Crushing Bolt, and then I will, even though it's weird and I'm going to a bunch of combat, I kind of have to choose what movement card I want. And as a result, I'm going to have to go with Rage Sideways. So in order to get onto the hill, we're going to need to do double time. Of course, I could make use of I Don't Give a Damn with Chivalry and get on there for free, but double time is also free. And I'm going to want to use Chivalry in a second here anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Rage here sideways to go with double time, and I don't even need I Don't Give a Damn, and that will give me enough movement to go onto that hill and assault the tower. Then once I'm in there, I'm going to initiate the attack. We're not going to do anything in the range attack phase. We're going to go straight to the block phase, and I'll grab the blue die in the source to power Cold Toughness, and that'll give us the 6 points of ice block that we need to block his 6 points of fire attack. Then I can tap Cold Swordsmanship, and I can use either the physical or ice versions of that. Either is going to be efficient against his 5 points of fire resistant armor. And then I'll play Chivalry. Now I don't get the reputation boost for this, but it's the only way I can get the attack, preserve the cards that I need, and not use a crystal. So I'm going to have to use the basic Chivalry attack 3 as opposed to the attack 2 and reputation 1, because attack 2 wouldn't be enough to kill this guy. But 3 is, and as a result I am able to grab this guy and send him off to his doom. So he's off to the land of wind and ghosts. And to quote Will Wheaton, quoting somebody else, and now my reputation does take a hit because of that, for assaulting the tower, but I do get the 5 fame, bringing me up to 71. And now set that off to the side, group those together, get them out of the way, because that is the end of my turn. Although I do get to grab, as a result, one of these spells. Space spending is nice. If you play the strong version of it, you get a free turn, essentially. So if you're, that can really save you if you're kind of like running out of time to finish the game. But I've got a lot of my plans are going to involve stronger effects of spells. I'm going to be making what efforts I can to get some black mana options, increase my odds of having black mana available. But with my current strategic position, I'm not too worried about running out of time. Remember, I'm going to be one tile away from the other city once I've finished this with this one. Now, there might be some ugly terrain there. I might have to go around something, and space spending would be really nice for that. But there's another level on offer, and in a pinch, I could grab flight. I mean, I've got options, and I do have double time even in the night. It's giving me 1 point every turn. I'm going to be able to get to the other city with plenty of time. So if I do have black mana, I might want to save that for the assault. I mean, I'm not bashing this, but I'm not as worried about mobility, the basic effect, or the time limit really. Whereas by contrast, Flame is just a basic attack. It's great, but I do have a little bit of fire attack available. You get a ton of fire attack with the more power. I mean, it's a very good skill. I'm kind of enamored with chill though. However, being able to take a enemy out of combat and nix its fire resistance can just be really handy. In fact, I'm looking at a fire dragon coming right up, and I know this is going to the top of my deck, so that might be a thing. Because whatever I take, if I'm taking it in order to have it for the city assaults, then I'll have to save this for a while. But this has the virtue of being useful to me right away, and then it's going to be pretty useful in a city assault next in night 3 as well. Just as useful as I think either of the others. So I'm going to grab Chill. And again, that goes to the top of my deck. And I will go ahead and refresh this. Now this means that space bending most likely is going to be the card on the bottom, but if I had taken space bending, then Chill would have been on the one on the bottom. So this guy's going to be getting a blue crystal, which, is as good as anything else. I would like to avoid him getting green, and he's going to be adding probably red or white, so getting a blue crystal. I don't recall throwing a bunch of blue into his hand, so that seems fine. So I grabbed a Chill as a reward for taking the tower. I need to go ahead and mark that tower, so I'll throw that down here. And that's where we are at the end of our first turn. All we've got to do is go ahead and roll this die here, and I'm just going to throw it on here to roll the die, and then we move over to the dummy player. Yep, because I did everything. Oh, I didn't draw back up to my hand. My hand limit is still 6. I didn't take a keep or anything like that. My hand is 6, but it's actually, I'm sorry, it's 7 because of planning. I have at least 2 cards in my hand, so I'm going to draw up to 7 here. Alright, and we're back to the dummy player here now. And, oh look, the die came out gold. That's handy. Okay. So yeah, the dummy player's flop. Let's see what we get. We got a red going away. Whoops, how'd that happen? A blue going away, and a green. Now we got 4 green crystals, so I have to flop 4 cards, and it's a blue, a red, and a white. Okay, this this flop, and a red. Okay. This flop really sucked. I chewed up 7 cards in virtue of drawing the green, and everything except that one card, which was the one that had to be green, to give me that shitty flop. Every other one was not green. Which means, as a result, I think there's at least 4 of these 13, about a third of these cards are green. Whereas only 1 of 7 here is. So not only was that a bad flop in terms of the number of cards that I had to turn over, but there's a very good chance that that's going to happen again now. So time is now of the essence for the rest of day 3, unfortunately. But I have a lot of cards to take care of, and all I really have to do is move up here, take out this dragon, then assault the city. I'm going to have at least, if he's got 13 cards in his deck, if he pulls 7 again and then again after that, then he's going to give me, he's going to take 3 turns, which means I've got 4 to play with. That should be plenty to kill one thing and then take a city. Especially drawing as much as I am. So I just have to keep moving, is all that there is to that. Okay. So, yeah. Let's take a look at what we want to do this round. Again, this is an option, but I don't have any blue in the source. I have a way of grabbing a blue. I have gold in the source, but I don't have any blue crystals. I don't have much in my hand. This can give me a blue token I could use. And then I have 1 die in the source. I don't even have mana draw in my hand to allow me to use the other. So I have no way of providing 3 blue mana for 7 fame, even if I wanted to spend 4 movement to go on there, throw away those mana resources just for 7 fame. Time's of the essence. I think I want to go ahead straight for that dragon. So it's a question of how do I get out of the wasteland, at which point I can engage him. I think I want to take him out before hitting the city, since I do know that I want to take him out, and I kind of have a plan in mind for that. So I've got Chill or Whirlwind as options. Chill would give me the virtue of taking away his fire resistance, but I'm not necessarily planning on using my red capes, which would be the only ones who care. So, let's grab him, and let's bring him down, and let's take a look at our options. First thing I need to worry about is actually getting onto that plane, at which point I will engage the dragon, but what will happen as a result of even moving onto that plane? Day or night, this is going to be the case. I'm going to reveal what's in that city. It's the first city revealed in the... I'm just playing the basic solo conquest scenario. Sometimes I soup this up, giving the city more power, more units in there, which when you take them out gives you more opportunities for fame. So that's or just more of a challenge if you feel like stoking your ego a little. But I'm just playing vanilla conquest here, so I'm going to get a brown, a purple, and a white because it starts out at level 5, as detailed in the scenario description. So a brown unit turns out to be the Shadows. They're among the tougher brown units, and they're not even worth that much. They got a cold fire attack, which is a pain in the ass to deal with. They are elusive, means that if you don't block that cold fire attack, which is hard to block, they're going to have 8 points of armor, which makes them hard to kill, although they don't have any resistances. And then on top of that, they have arcane immunity, which means you can't even plop one of those cards that I have that allows you to just say enemy doesn't attack or something like that. So they kind of suck balls. And then I have a purple, which is a hag. They're not too bad. They're poison, so if you let them through, that kind of sucks, but they don't do a ton of damage. And then we've got the Ultimate Guardians, which, as you know, are a tough nut to crack. They're resistant to all attacks, therefore even cold fire attacks, because they have both the fire and the ice on them. They're fortified, so in the city they're double fortified, so if I merge them with anybody, they're double fortified. If I group enemies together, they get all those resistances. They're worth a lot when you kill them, so there's that, but they're in the city, so I'm just going to kind of leave them here to remind myself of that. Okay, so I know what's in the city, and just kind of taking stock of that before I play my hand against the dragon. Not that I really have too many options here. I mean, he's fortified, and I don't have enough siege to overcome that. Even with this, that's 5. I don't have a source of another 3 siege anywhere, so taking him out without blocking is not even an option. But I'm thinking these two. It seems like a big play for such a little enemy, but taking out the hags before they do anything. It's a free kill, so that you also don't have to block them. That's going to be a thing. So I want to hang on to these if I can. But before I do that, I have to be able to move onto the wasteland, which requires force. So that's going to be that's going to require double time, and then one of my movement cards. I've got white and 2 golds in the source. I don't think it matters too much which of my movement cards that I'm going to play here. I'm just going to keep one to move onto the city and use the other one. So I'll go ahead and just grab March, I guess. Yeah, it really doesn't matter which one I pick, so I'll just grab that. I have green in the source, but I'm not using it for this, and I'm not planning to next turn anyway either, because I get it onto the city for free with double time. So that allows me to move onto the waste, see those enemies, and then engage the dragon that I want to engage. Do I want to play Whirlwind or Chill to attack these guys? Either way, well, I've got a white die in the source, so that might be a reason to use Whirlwind instead. They're both giving me this benefit of target enemy doesn't attack. He's not immune to arcane, so I can do that. He's resistant to fire, which means he'd be immune to the special effects of red cards, but neither of these are red. So, as a result, not too worried about where we're at. Except, here's the thing, and this is the kind of thing you really do want to take account of when you're deep into this game. I'm just, it might seem like this is just arbitrary. You just pick one. Who cares, right? You've got white in the source, but you've got gold in the source. You might say use the white rather than the gold, but if I use Whirlwind, then I'm left with Chill, obviously. If I'm then assaulting the city next, what if I wanted to use Chill against the Guardians to prevent them from attacking? I can't. The reason being, he's resistant to ice. And because he's resistant to ice, he's immune to special effects from blue cards. So that means I have to use Chill now so that I have Whirlwind for later, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and flop chill here. And that means I'm going to have to use one of those blue dice from the source. One of the gold dice from the source. Count it as blue. And apply that to the dragon. Now that means target enemy doesn't attack this combat. If it has fire resistance, it loses it for the rest of the turn. But I don't think that's going to matter too much, because I think what I'm going to do to kill this guy is, first of all, play Cold Swordsmanship for free attack. That's 2. He's not resistant to it. Same as the Fire Mages. He's not resistant to either, so it doesn't matter which one I pick. And then I just need to find 6 more attack in order to do this. And I got plenty of ways to do that, because I could play Swiftness. I don't have any white mana, so I actually can't play Swiftness, but I could play it sideways for 2 attack or something like that. But I've got all these units as well. I'm tempted to maybe play a card sideways with the heroes, because the heroes will not be allowed to help me in the city assault unless I play Influence. So I'm tempted to use them now, but I'm thinking 2 Influence is pretty easy to come by, especially with I Don't Give a Damn, in the event that I need them. But what I'd really like to do is just save them for their influence in the city, so that I could recruit Altum Guardsmen, have another level 4 unit. So I'm thinking once I get into that city, I want the heroes there. I don't want to use both of these guys, and I don't have a ton of other attack left over. So what I'm thinking again that I'm going to be recruiting a unit here pretty soon. And if you recruit a unit, I was going to be replacing one of these guys anyway. I'm thinking I've got 2 points of attack from Cold Swordsmanship. I want to play the Utum Swordsman and actually use that stronger attack or block 6, wounding the unit. This is normally you would put a wound card on top of these guys, but it's just it's harder to see, so they've created this little doodad here for the mod. So these guys are wounded, but that gives me 6 attack, and I'm planning on replacing them anyway, at which point the other unit just comes usable and not hurt. So I don't care that they're wounded right now if I'm planning on replacing them. So I might as well just use their stronger effect. And then I have all this other stuff still in my hand to play with. I think that's what I'm going to do. Given that I'm going to be moving into the city for free, I'm not too worried. I might want to get rid of this out of my hand. But I do have I Don't Give a Damn, so it doesn't make it useless. I could discard it, I could find a way to play it, but at this point I don't need it. So I think I'm just going to hang on to it for that extra flexibility in case I need the heroes. I'm not too worried about it. So I'm going to, with these units and what I've got on offer here, I think I can do some damage in that initial assault. And I will be drawing a couple other cards as I go. So that kills the dragon, because I get 6 points plus another 2, and he's not resistant to any of it, so that's the 8 that I need to kill him. That gives me 8 fame. And that takes me up from 71 all the way to 79. I'm 1 shy of a level, but it does also bump my reputation up by 2. And I'm still drawing 7 at the end of this turn. Now, the one concern I have is, kind of a concern, is that I'm not using too many cards, and I am concerned about the dummy player and how quickly he's going to be burning through stuff. But I think I'm going to play a bunch before I salt. I'm probably going to flop 2 more, so I'm effectively going to have 9 cards before I salt that city, and I'm probably going to use most of them. So I'm going to be getting 4 more on top of these to play. And then once I take that city will increase my hand by 2. So at that point I'll be drawing, at that point I will have leveled and I'll be drawing 9, 10 if planning is still in effect. Because in order for planning to work, you have to have 2 cards left. So I'm drawing either 9 or 10 once I'm in the city, and I'll probably be trying to recruit a bunch. And that could potentially mean a bunch of cards sideways, because the Guardians are expensive. Alright, so that is where we're at right now. We'll go ahead and roll the dice from the source back to the source. Get these guys back into the discard. We will draw up to 7. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do the dummy flop and see what... Cross your fingers. See what happens here. Another red. A blue. You gotta be kidding me with this. What do you want to bet this is green? Alright. Hey, at least a green came out of it. But I mean, how many non-greens are even left at this point? They just keep going away. I think I need to draw one more. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention there. I was fuming about my fortune here. Yeah. So I gotta draw one more. So there's 6 cards left, and at this point I think I've used 3. Okay. There's probably... I think he starts with 4. I think I added 1. Yeah, I definitely added at least 1. So there's at least 2 more greens out of the 6 left in here. Maybe even more. So it's either a third or a 50-50 that it's a green again. And the way they made my day has been going. Okay. So I'm counting on having 3 turns at this point. I might have 4 if the next flop is not green. I have 3 or 4. Okay, I got a 50-50 shot at worst. Okay, let's not be catastrophic here. 3 or 4 turns. And that should be plenty to assault the city and do some recruiting. So I'm in pretty good shape. Let's just take a gander up at the map and see where we're at. Alright, so I pulled the red city card just to kind of show you how this sort of thing works. For those of you who might not know, the cities, just like towers and keeps, grant fortification to any of the defenders. So all of these guys are fortified, and the Ultim Guardians would be double fortified. And of course they would share that with the folks that you group them with, should you group them. On top of that, each city in the game will give a unique perk to the defenders when you're attacking, and then give you something extra that you can do in there once you've conquered it. So in the case of the Red City, once I'm in there and I own it, I can spend 12 influence to grab an artifact. And as a result of that, I'm going into this fight thinking I want to try to use as little influence as possible, because I would love to be able to, if possible, not only recruit the Guardians there, but maybe even snag an artifact before I leave. I've got 2 turns to do it and a ton of cards in my hand to kind of play with. So that's what I'm looking at right now as my sort of strategic consideration going in there. When I move on to the city, I of course lose the 1 influence. If I lose the fight, I get bounced back. But if I kill some of the enemies and some of them survive, they're not replenished or anything like that. Whoops, I didn't mean to grab all of you. There we go. Alright, let's take these guys down to our hand and kind of array them here. And then we'll take stock of what we can do, what we want to preserve or use. And what we have in the source, I didn't check actually after that last roll. This kind of landed on top of the other die, but I got a gold. So as awful as my luck has been over here, and I'm not a fan of drawing these guys in a city assault, but the source has been kind to me so far. All right, let's take a look at our assault and kind of plan things out here. Okay, so how do we do this? First of all, we have to pay the expense of moving into the city, and in virtue of assaulting that city, I've already moved myself onto it on the map, but I've got to take that reputation hit for moving on and assaulting this city. I'll get this out of the way. And that's enough movement. It's 2 to enter a city. It doesn't matter what the underlying terrain looks like it is. In virtue of the artwork of the tile, it's always 2 to go into a city, and I get 2 for free in the day, so I'm all set using just double time. Of course, I could use stamina, but then what would I use double time for? So stamina is at least a card sideways in my arsenal. I've got 3 units to play with. Considerations in facing these enemies. The hags are not that scary. I could kill them with that old combo of concentration and crushing bolt, which came up again. That might be a play, because the alternative is to find 5 points of block and then kill them with 5 points of attack, so using up 10 points as opposed to 5 points of siege. And that siege is not going to allow me to do anything else. I don't have any other sources of ranged other than swiftness, but they're all fortified, and I don't currently have a way to get rid of fortification. So, and even siege is useless against these guys, but on top of that it's physical attack. So it would be 2.5 points versus his 7. This guy looks like a 4, but he's actually an 8 until you block him. He also has arcane immunity, which means I can't use whirlwind against him, even though he's kind of a good candidate with a cold fire attack. But with my 4 points of armor, I'm kind of like, that's hard to block, but it's just 1 wound in my hand, so that's not that scary, even if I just eat that. The temptation would be to find a way to block him, because in blocking him, not only do I not take that wound, but I cut his armor in half, so it's 4 points of damage to find that block. That's an option. Another thing is the Ultimate Guardians. If I spend green mana on them, and I have a crystal for it, all units gain all resistances, which would mean that I could send his attack to the red capes, and they would just eat it without taking any wounds. And then these guys I could send to the Ultimate Guardians. One of them. Now the other one's going to have to be blocked one way or another. And as I'm saying this, I'm remembering that's actually not the case. Because and you have to be careful with this. Resistance deals with damage. And there, the damage of the hags and the guardians is actually 10. Because it's in the red city. So while I could play that to eat this attack with the red capes or with the guardians, these guys would be doing 10 damage, which means if I sent it even to the guardians, they would resist it, but the resistance would mean the first 7 points of that 10 damage would be eaten without damaging it, and then the 3 extra would also be eaten by the guardians, but as a result the guardians would be wounded. And if it was the poison attack, they'd be wounded twice, which would really suck, because that would basically take the guardians out unless I come up with 8 points of healing, which is, I have the heroes, but it would be expensive at best to try to do that. Probably be easier to recruit a replacement. So what I'm looking at is, what can I do? Just playing with some options here. If I play concentration and crushing bolt, obviously I'd have to power it with something. I could kill the hags, which doesn't, again, it doesn't seem like blowing a really nice attack on the weakest of the units, or the least scary of the units, seems like kind of a waste, but it's the only one I could kill. And it takes a pretty nasty attack off the table. 5 points of poison damage is nothing to sneeze at. If I took that myself, it would be 2 wounds to my hand and 2 to my discard. So killing them at that point would be good. If I block these guys, they're down to 4 armor, and I've got 4 attack here. I've got stout resolve and cold swordsmanship for another 4. So the question at that point would be, what do I do with these guys? So I could block these guys with my Ultim Guardians. Their block 8 counts twice against swiftness, but swiftness is not on the table. But still block 8. Inefficient would be block 4, and it's only a 4-point attack. So I could block those guys with the Guardians. And in addition to blocking the attack, I would take them down to 4 points of damage. I could then play my red capes, for instance, power them with red mana to get the 4 fire attack. And it doesn't matter that it's fire, but that would be enough to kill these guys. These guys here, I do have white in the source, and I could power both of these with crystals. I'm reluctant to use too many crystals because I do have another larger city assault coming up at some point, but I have a turn or two after this that I can use to replenish some of my crystals. Hopefully. But yeah, if I played this with the white die from the source, I could use gold, but I'll save those golds if I don't have to use them, because they're very versatile. And that would stop this guy from attacking, just because I don't want to wound somebody or take 2 wounds if I don't have to. It's worth a single spell card. I have cold swordsmanship, but I have to find a way to generate 14 attack here. After playing cold swordsmanship, he's resistant to everything, and there's nothing I can do about that. If I play stout resolve and power it, that would take me up to 5, and then I could add 6. That would be 7, 9, 11. Not enough. So I would have to use the heroes. I could do it if I use the heroes. So that's basically, I could play the heroes for 5 attack. Cold swordsmanship would be 7. Play stout resolve. I'd have to use up another green crystal and a couple of these cards, but I'll be able to kill him. And that way I can take the city in 1 assault without taking any wounds, just chewing up a bunch of crystals. Just considering whether there's a better way to do this. I know I can do it, but is there a better way to do it? And I just realized I'm not... if I'm going to use it during the course of the game, now would be the time to do it. Motivation gives me 2 cards in the hand. Gives me a blue token, which I don't see any obvious way of using right now. But a blue token will give me some options here. Now I haven't revealed anything, so I can take this all back. But once I reveal this, then I'm locked in. So I'm going to take this back. I know none of the things that I just did are going to go away as options in virtue of doing motivation, but what if I want to change up anything about what I just did? All I'll leave the movement and the hit to my reputation alone. I think that covers everything that I did. I just return the die to the source. Yeah. Okay. So let's wind back to the initial assault and flop motivation and see what that gives us into our hand and see if that changes up anything we want to do. So I'm going to draw one card. And I'm going to draw another card. Well, this immediately is jumping out at me. Target enemy loses all fortifications and resistances. That's going to make killing the Ultim Guardian a lot easier. And you might have sensed a little reluctance in my voice here. I was trying to see if I could get by without using the heroes. The reason being, I can go into the city and use them for Influence 5. And I'm thinking when I get into the city, remember I've got more Guardians, and I've got Ice Golems, and I have the chance to buy artifacts in the city. So if I can keep them, and honestly, if I could keep Stout Resolve in my hand, that's another source of potentially giant influence, because I can play that for 3 influence with green mana and then just discard cards for 2 each. So with the heroes, that's 5, 8, and then I'm going to have, what did I say, 9 cards in my hand at that point. So even if I just discard the other 8, that's 25 influence. That would be plenty to recruit the Guardians and get an artifact. So if I can get by without using these guys, and hopefully retaining at least 1 green crystal. No, I've got gold in the source, so I don't even have to do that. I'd like to hold on to those both if I can. So let's take stock here once again, because Exposed not only reduces, strips his resistances, but it also is 2 ranged attack. Problem is, I'm still probably going to want to play Whirlwind. And if I do, I'm going to need more white. Yeah. Okay. So here's I think what I'm going to do in order to make sure I have white. Oh yeah. I also forgot that motivation gives me a blue crystal, blue mana token. Sorry, which I can use to play with crystallize. So let's see if this is going to work. Crystallize with blue mana allows me to take any crystal I want, and I know I need some white, so I'm going to grab a white crystal. Before using the die in the source, I can play Mana Storm to grab a crystal there and re-roll it, because again, whatever that comes out to be, I have gold in the source. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll grab the white. Right? I'm actually not using the die from the source. I'm just grabbing it because I'm going to roll it here. And that allows me to take a white crystal. So now no matter what this turns out to be when I roll it, I'm going to be pretty set. So fling that up there, and then we'll check what result we get. And yeah, then we'll see where we're at. So yeah, we got black. That kind of sucked. So we turned our white die into a black useless die. Remember, you can't play black mana during the day unless you're underground, and I am not, and I don't plan to be. So we're down a die in the source, kind of going forward. But we did get our 2 white crystals, and we still have access to a couple of golds in the source. So we still have, really good mana options here. The only real limitation right now is I lack blue crystals in my inventory, but it's not like I'm looking to play stamina or anything, so whatever. And going forward, I do have that motivation for a blue token in my last round next time out. So unless the next couple of flops I some reason need a bunch of blue, I'm fine. And I still have gold in the source. But focus, Ben, focus. We are looking at trying to take these guys out. So I think I still want to, if I play expose, I'm getting ranged attack with it. I might as well try to kill this guy with ranged attack. He's not immune to white. He would be immune if it was a blue or a red spell card, but it's a white spell card, which means he is not immune to the effect. Could grab a gold die from the source, so let's start there and use up the gold to save those crystals as much as possible. And that's 2 ranged attack, and he's now no longer immune to anything, so I need 5 more ranged attack. I can do that with my combo here. I could also use swiftness. I haven't thought this all out fully, but either way I'm going to have to play a green crystal to run concentration to turn either Crushing Bolt into 5 siege or Swiftness into 5 ranged attack, either of which would give me a total of 7, which would kill this guy. I'm leaning towards using Swiftness for that. The reason being, if I don't wind up using this, of course, it's a green crystal, whereas this is just movement, which I'm not like crying out for, especially with double time in my arsenal here. And if I do wind up using it, I don't think I'm doing any more range attacking. I think I'm going into the block and attack phases. So I might as well play it sideways with I don't give a damn for 3 base attack rather than spending a crystal to get 3 siege attack, which it doesn't matter that it's siege any longer in the attack phase. So I'm going to grab Swiftness for that reason. Okay, so that is 7 attack. With him having lost all fortifications and resistances, that allows me to kill him. If I block these guys with the Ultim Guardians and then use my red capes again to kill them, they're taken out without doing any damage. The only question would be the hags. I could try to find 5 block, but at this point I'd rather just spend a crystal and a spell card that I'm not looking to use. In another way, I might consider attacking these guys, but a gray and a purple with, you know, whatever else I'm pulling into my hand. Plus I'm looking to add guardians into my deck, into my unit offer, my unit roll, my unit list. I will have a guardian in tow in an extra slot after I level up and then next turn recruit them. So if I have time and I do choose to assault that ruin, the point being I don't think I need Whirlwind per se, and who knows what else I'm going to draw to. So yeah, I will spend Whirlwind to just obviate that attack, and then I just need to find 5 points of damage. And I want to do that without using the heroes, if I possibly can, and also hanging on to Stout Resolve. So what can I do? If I play Cold Swordsmanship, that's 2. So I need 3. If I play Stamina sideways with I don't give a damn, that would only be 4. So it looks like what I'm going to have to do is play Crushing Bolt sideways with I don't give a damn for that last 3 points of attack So that's 2 from Cold Swordsmanship, 3 from this, and that would be 5. So he was killed in the ranged attack phase. He's blocked by the Guardians. He's blocked by Whirlwind, as it were. It's not a block, but his attack is stopped. Then he's killed with my red capes, and the hags are killed with Cold Swordsmanship and Crushing Bullet. Yeah, that works. And all I wound up using was a green crystal, a white crystal, and a red crystal, a gold die from the source, my blue mana token. But I did add also a white crystal to my inventory, so I lost a green and a red net, but I added a white because I gained the 2 whites earlier. Not a bad turn. I'm pretty happy with that. The question now would be, before I resolve this, do I want to possibly discard stamina in order to have better cards in my hand next time? That's always a question kind of in the back of my mind. And the reason I'm mentioning it is I have 15 cards left in my deck, and you got to remember that dummy player, if he does flop a green, I only have 2 turns left after this. And I want to say that's 50-50, or 1 in 3. So that would allow me to get maybe a better card. But I'm also thinking with Stop Resolve, I'm most likely going to have at least some of these cards that I'm just throwing away for influence. So this might as well be one of them. And if next turn I do that with a ton of cards, which it looks like I probably will, then I'm going to chew through a bunch of cards. Remember, I'm drawing 7 of these. Actually, if I don't use this, if I don't throw this away, planning, yeah, so that's a stupid thought in the first place. Because of planning, if I did discard this, I would only have 1. So I would be drawing 9 in virtue of my level up that's coming, and +2 from being in the city that I am the master of, the leader of the city. So I'm going to be drawing 9 with planning. It would be 10. If I get rid of it, it would only be 9. So either way, I'm drawing into my hand the same number of cards, but if I throw it away, I just have 1 fewer in my hand to play with Stop Resolve. So I'm going to draw up to 10 and keep it. So that's where we are. Let's just clean up and figure out what we get from our level, and we'll be all set. Okay, so before I execute this cleanup, I just need to note that if things look like they've maybe moved a little bit, things are not quite exactly in the same place, or if you pick up on a disconnect. I had initially recorded this video, and there was a little pop-up window that I did not think would be captured by the recording, but it was. However, I just went on and kept recording like 25 minutes of video. Rather than do the whole thing or leave that big ugly window in the middle, I'm going to record about 2 minutes or so here and then splice it back in. I think I got everything back to where it was, but if you notice a disconnect, that's just because I'm trying to record to improve the quality here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect these tokens, and I'm going to throw this over here. I'm going to throw the die here, and it's going to shoot up there and do what it does. You're going to find in a minute here that it led to something untoward, but I'll let that come as it makes. Go as it comes. I'll let you deal with that as it comes. We gather the tokens, the cards, and we turn our skills. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at what enemies we fought here. And we are looking at the Guardians, the Hags, and the Shadows. That's a total of 16 fame that we're adding to our track. So we bounce up to the fame board. We were at 79, and adding 16 of that takes us to 95. Bouncing back down to the play area here, we also note that that gave us a level, and as a result we have gained an extra command token, And with the result of that being that our stats are improved, our armor stays the same at 4, but our hand size has actually crept up to 7. And this is pretty much where our stats max out. You don't go above level 10, no matter how much fame you get. And as a result, you are just going to get those stats be your highest. So then all that is left is to get those tokens and get them out of the way. We'll go ahead and we'll flip up to the graveyard here. Swap down here, and that is where I will splice us back in. And I have managed to not use the heroes. Let's get these guys out of here. Throw them onto our pile of dead things. Dead things, Mikey, dead things. And let's go ahead and mark the city. The way you mark cities is you put 1 shield onto the city for each enemy that you took out that was a defender of the city. 1-player game, I don't think it really matters much how you're marking it. Oh, come on. I'm just happy with that. It's fine. But if you're playing a multiplayer game, the leader of the city is the one with the most shield tokens on it. And in the case of a tie, it's the first person to add a shield, I believe. I of course am the only one there, so I don't. In the end game, I think it just counts how many, whether you're the leader of the city or not, and whether you conquered the city. I don't think the number of shields that you have on the city, I don't think factors in off the top of my head, but we'll see. Either way, that's how you mark it, and I'm definitely the master of that city right now. And now the question is, what do I do with the rest of where I'm at? And that, by the way, turned out to be a green. Well, okay, so here's the problem. I threw that on here, and it tosses the die, and then with the wonderful physics of the game, it lands here. But I guess what happened is, because you remember, I had 2 golds and a black. So what happened is the die that I threw up here hit one of the gold dice, the gold die that was up here, and turned it into something else. And I didn't see it, so I don't know what happened. When that happens, usually it falls from the top and it usually goes further. So I'm going to say the die that I was rolling is most likely this green one. And I'm going to turn this one back to the gold that it was. And I'm going to move it off to the side here. Maybe I'll put them down here. Whoops. What's going on with you? Okay. You are black. And you are green. There we go. Okay. Now they're all nice and pretty. And the next one that I throw down here is just going to flop and hopefully not hit any of those guys. Okay, so that's my source. I'm fairly confident that's the one that was rolled. I don't think it'll matter whether there's green or red up there, and hopefully I'm not cheating in any way. I don't know what the solution is for that problem. Okay, so I think that covered everything. I've got everything done. I just need to draw up my 10 cards, and I'll deal with what's in there later. And then we got to flop the dummy. Here we go, moment of truth. That's a green. Okay, there we go. So I've got 2 turns. I can play this one, then he'll declare, and then I get another one. All right. The odds. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna grab a pen here, and I'm gonna calculate what are the odds there, because he's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's got 20 cards in his hand and 5 of them are green. And in 3 flops, I hit green each time. I'm curious what the odds of that happening are. They're not great. And had it been anything else, any one of those times, I would have another turn. But I don't. So I'm going to have to haul butt here and take a look at what we can do. So let's take stock. What do I want to do with the rest of my turn? I mean, this turn I'm definitely going to try to grab the Guardians, and if I can manage it, an artifact. I might, if I can't do an artifact, maybe I recruit both of these guys, because again, I do have the wounded. I've got a new slot, but I have a wounded unit that I could just replace with a better unit that's not wounded. And if I do that with both of them, I'll have 2 units to assault this with. The only issue is that's a desert, and it's daytime, so it would be 5 movement to get onto that desert. But next time out, I'm going to be drawing 9 or 10 cards as well, so if I use a bunch of them, it shouldn't be hard to grab all of these. I might have a play with meditation here to give me even a couple more hands. Yeah. Okay. So, what do I want to do? What are my options here for drawing, for getting influence? My target here is 23 influence, 12 for a 12 for an artifact, and 11 to recruit the Guardians. And I've got +1 from my reputation. So it's really 22. So I need to find 22 points of influence. I can get 5 from the heroes. And let's see here. I've got Threaten, which normally I wouldn't play that much. I mean, I normally am not like, hooray, Threaten. But it's end game. And after this, I'll have all my unit spots filled. And 4 of the 5 slots, most likely, or very likely, are going to be, if I do take that Ruin, which gives me a unit, I'm obviously going to grab those golems. So I'll be staring at 4 gold units. And we'll have already grabbed an artifact, and I'll be looking at going out after maximizing my score rather than trying to increase my hand even further or anything like that. So what am I going to use influence for, if not now? So by that same logic, why would I care about my reputation, is kind of the point I'm trying to make here. So I'm not going to be afraid of playing Threaten now like I was earlier when my reputation was in the negative and it was early. So I think what I want to do is play the Ruby Ring to get a red crystal maxing me back out again, get a red token, +1 fame, bringing us up to 96. And I'm going to play Threaten using that red crystal, red token, because I don't see myself using it for anything else. So that is 5 plus another 5. At the end of my turn, I will take a reputation hit, but that is if I'm recruiting. If used during interaction of any kind, which is what it is, reputation +1. So these cancel each other out. So I've got the 1 to start with, 5, and another 5, so that's 11, and my target is 23. Obviously, I'm going to want to play Heroic Tale. And let's see. Do I want to power this with white mana? I have a gold die in the source, but let's think about this. I've got another play here. I can assign the Banner of Courage, if I need to the heroes. And then flip it and play the heroes again for another 5. But if I don't have to, yeah, if I don't have to, I think I want to save it for maybe the Guardians or something, because I don't want to necessarily, I mean, I could, yeah, okay. That, if I save them, that's going to make this very not scary, because I'll have 2 Guardians. Because I can play this here and activate those Guardians. And then it'll be that much nicer next turn as well. So I think I'm going to do that. So if I don't have to, I won't. I think I want to play Meditation at the end as well, if I can, to get a bigger hand size before I attack that group. So now this is what I'm looking at. You're trying to use these. I might like Stamina, but none of these others are really like blowing me away. If I play Heroic Tale, for green, or with a white, then I use up my crystal or I use up the gold die. But I want, oh, here's the thing. I want to play Meditation later if I can, and I need to play, I'm thinking, in order to get up there, I'm going to have to play Stat Resolve with a green. So I'm going to need to use a green die from the source to do that, and a green crystal, or maybe I play the gold die from the source or my white crystal to play mana draw and get 2 for the price of 1. I am loath to use up that green crystal, but the gold die from the source. But I'd rather have crystals than dice in the source, especially with just 1 turn remaining. And if I use that gold to power, if I use the gold to power mana draw, I can set the black die to green to get my 2 green crystals. And then I'll roll this. So I'll have green in the source and something else. A shot at whatever else going into my final turn. And I'm planning on using my units and skills to help me out. And I will have, for attack purposes, I'll have red. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So I'm going to play Mana Draw. And I'll have to power that. I could power it with white, but I'm going to power it with the gold die. And I'm going to set the black die to green and get 2 green tokens. And I'm going to just go ahead and play Meditation now. And I'll randomly do that at the end of my turn. I'll throw those in there. But then I'm going to play Stat Resolve. The reason I'm doing this, I have 7 in my hand. That would make it 9 in my hand, but this also increases my hand limit, and I'm already drawing 9 or possibly 10 cards. So I'm going to be able to get everything even after adding these in there. Okay, so I was at 11 influence, 5 plus another 5 plus the 1 from my reputation. This takes me up to played for influence with a green token. That gives me 14. And I'm going to play Heroic Tale for 3, if I can. If I have to, I'll do this, but let's say that's 3. That's 17. And that means I need 6 more. And I can actually make that even higher just for shits and giggles. I'm going to go ahead and make that those two both discarded with Stout Resolve for 2 each. And then I'll play Call to Arms. I could do that with Call to Arms as well, but I could also do it sideways with I Don't Give a Damn to make it 3 instead of 2, just you know, to be that awesome. So let's tally this up. That's 3, 6, 8, 10, 13, 18, 23, and the one for my reputation is 24, but I need 11 for the Guardians, and then I need 12 to get an artifact. So I have enough plus 1. Net effect on my reputation is plus 1, minus 1, and plus 1. And I'm able to recruit those Guardians, and I'm going to snag an artifact from the deck. I will hold on to this for right now, because I'm going to be able to draw everything. Now, before I clean up, I have to randomly grab these cards and get them into the deck. So I'll go ahead and shuffle that up, and I'll get those 2 cards. I'll just throw them onto the top of my deck, I guess. And when we flop cards, we'll find out what those are. And I get my artifact as well. Now I played Motivation first, and then my artifact goes on top of that, but it doesn't matter because I'm drawing that whole deck, I think. Because I'm drawing either 11 or 12. Because I'm in the city. Planning's not going to be in effect, so I'm drawing 11, but I only have 9, and it will be 10. Okay, so then I just need to figure out what artifact I get. I draw 2 from the deck, and that's an interesting choice. Banner of Fear. Assign this to a unit you control. During the block phase of combat, you can spend the unit to cancel 1 enemy attack, and in virtue of doing that, you gain 1 fame. Or you can destroy it so that up to 3 enemies do not attack this combat. Endless Gem Pouch. Roll a mana die 2 times. Gain a crystal to your inventory for each color rolled. If you roll gold, you get to choose. If you roll black, you get a fame. If you destroy it, you gain a mana token of every basic color. It's only a token, but then you also get a black if played at night. So both of these are very interesting. Where I'm at tactically, it's looking like I'm probably going to go here, at which point I'll probably flop a city, the terrain here, but we'll have to take a look at that. The core tile is probably going to go here. I can't put it here, so if I'm on this space, I'm going to have to put it here. Although, bearing in mind, if this is my next turn out of the city is going to be my last turn. So I'm going to start night in that spot. And depending on what units show up in the offer, I might find myself tempted to return to the Red City for just a cost of 2 movement. If my hand's full of influence, and I have the heroes again, I might be sorely tempted to spend the heroes to recruit a unit to just replace the heroes with, if that makes sense. At which point it'll be night and the cost of these two terrains would be equivalent. So I might be able to put a tile here. The reason being, there's a couple of tiles, like the green tile, the green city tile, has a glade on this side. And the white city tile, this is really metagaming it, but the white city tile I think has a keep on this side. I can't remember if the blue has anything really nice next to it. I don't think it does. But two of the three cities have something nice over here. And if they flop them over here, I'm going to have to find a way to get over there to take advantage of it before attacking. Obviously thinking way ahead, but the reason I even started down that line of thought is what am I doing the rest of this turn, and what's next turn going to look like next round? I got one turn left, so I'm going to have this in my hand. I could assign it to a unit during the block phase to cancel an attack, but I'm facing a purple and a gray. And I'll have two Ultim Guardians to play with, active. They're already such that I could spend them to block. So the only reason I would really want to have this per se would be maybe in the City Assault. I could like tap the red capes to stop a unit from attacking that they normally wouldn't be able to block on their own or something like that. Or I could destroy it in the case of like if it's just a really nasty city, maybe I'd just destroy it to prevent 3 attacks. But again, I do have the Guardians to play with, and I have in my hand, I've got some spells like Expose and Whirlwind that are already doing this. I'm kind of tempted by the gem pouch just because in a pinch, I mean, if either of these is a factor when I assault the city, it's because they're in my hand. If I assign this to a unit, then it's not in my hand, so I'd have to take it back in order to get that better effect. That's not a decision I relish making. I don't think you can destroy a banner when it's assigned to a unit. It has to be in your hand, I think. So the gem pouch would give me a bunch of mana to play with and a black mana, and I really like having the option of some black mana in the last round. So I think I'm going to grab the gem pouch because it's going to help me now immediately in giving me a couple of crystals. Might give me red, which would be no good to me, but it's going to give me a couple of crystals and give me some options if it shows up next time out as well. I might wind up regretting it, but we'll see. You have to kind of roll with the punches a little bit. Alright, so now it's time to clean up and then see where we're at. Okay. Go ahead and roll that die. Clear these guys. I'm going to flip them before putting them on the discard so that I don't have the advantage of knowing. I guess it doesn't matter going forward. Those cards are already there, but whatever. Yeah, so let's see what we got from our die roll really quick. Hopefully nothing catastrophic happened. Looks like that die came out red. And it should be it. We draw up to 11 cards, actually. 7 for our hand size, 2 for the city, and then 2 for meditation. Which means those 10 cards can all go into our hand. And there's our gem pouch that we threw on. It looks like concentration and crystallize were the 2 we added. Concentration could be useful in combat. Crystallize, I don't know, might get me a crystal, but I'm probably going to use up the die from the source, so that might turn out to be kind of useless to me. Dummy declares end round, and we need to march into that ruin, and that requires doing double time. It's a desert during the day. I don't anticipate movement cards being a big deal for me, so rather than use a crystal or a die, I'm just going to play those with double time to get 6 movement. And that's enough. We'll zip up here. It's a gray and a purple in that ruin, so let's grab those guys and zip back down. Let's see what we got. Got what, guardian golems or whatever those are, and then ice golems. Okay. And once again, this is a ruin that is going to allow me to recruit a unit. And the one I've got my eye on is the ice golems. So there's a little irony in this, I guess. I'm going to kill some ice golems to recruit some ice golems. Maybe I'm just beating them into submission. And I'm telling them, you are going to be my little minions here, lest I send you off to the land of wind and ghosts. And they say, yes, sir, Mr. Tovak, sir. Little roleplay moment there for you. I try to keep it fun. Okay, now actually before I go into combat, I was going to do this anyway. Technically I need to do this before I go into combat, but this was my plan going in here. In the first place was to use the banner on these guys. I can place it in combat, that's not a problem, but in order to use it, I have to use it outside of combat, and technically before I reveal, as soon as I reveal these guys, I'm in combat. But this was, like, that's why I was saving this. So this was my plan anyway, I just forgot to do it. And what that does is that gives me these guardians back. So I was going to roll into this. My plan was to roll into this with these 2 guardians. I mean, with the ice guys here, I might even consider doing the red capes to have some fire. But even knowing what I was going to fight, I probably wouldn't have done that. Just because I want the banner into these guys next round. And I don't want to have to take it back and hope it shows up again. So, how do I fight these guys? These guys are physically resistant. These guys are physical and ice resistant. So I'm obviously going to plan to use cold swordsmanship on these guys as an ice attack. I can generate 8 ranged attack. These guys are not fortified for being in the ruin, but 8 would be enough to take these guys out, so I wouldn't have to block them. But that would require playing concentration on Ice Bolt or on Swiftness, and then that would be, I do have a green die in the source. I could do that with concentration, but then I'm using either a white or I guess it would have to be a white crystal, because I don't have a blue. I could play the gem pouch and see what it gets me, but with the 2 guardians, I'm thinking I could do. Let's see if I can do some damage without using any of these things that might net me crystals, because I could just play this for a crystal, play these for a couple of crystals, and then I could play these 2 to get I could get a blue token and play that token with this to choose a crystal. And I've got, problem is I have some useless cards, but I got some chunky units here. So let's, and I do have cold swordsmanship. Okay, here's the thing. The heroes have been used, and I have to pay influence to use them if I'm assaulting or if I'm attacking a player, but this is not an assault. So I can use the heroes and they're physically resistant. So I can send the golems, these golems attack to them, and it does nothing. So they're kind of taken care of. I have to block these guys because they're paralyzing. I could spend one of these, but I could also use them for 5 points of attack. Anything I throw at these guys is going to be inefficient attack-wise. What if I did it this way? What if I did instinct? I don't think I need any of the dice from the source here for these. Instinct with the red die for 4 block. It's inefficient, but that's the 2 block that I need to block him. So now I'm through the ranged attack and the block, and therefore the assigned damage phases with no damage done. I'm going to spend cold swordsmanship for 2 ice attack against these guys. That brings them down to 3, but that means I need 6 attack to kill them. I'm going to use one of my guardians for 5 of that, and then I'll just play Promise sideways. Turn, there you go. So cold swordsmanship is efficient. These 2 together would be inefficient. So their 6 would turn into a 3, plus the 2 is the 5 I need to kill him. So he's dead. Now I need 8 points of damage against this guy, just because it's all going to be inefficient. But I think I can do that because I've got, yeah. Oh yeah. Ultimate Guardians are 5. I can play Swiftness sideways with I Don't Give a Damn for 2, and then Tranquility sideways for another 1. So that's 3, plus his 5 is 8. It's inefficient, but it's enough to kill them. And what that'll do is leave me with all of these guys to play with for crystals. So this is going to give me 2 crystals. Now I have to roll to find out what they are. But no matter what, I'm going to want to play the Ice Bolt to get a blue crystal, because worst case scenario, in that respect, I get 2 blue out of this. And then after I've played that, I can just pick a crystal color from this. All right, awesome. Okay, let's grab our rewards here really quick, and that's 5, and that's another 4, so that's 9 fame. I'll bop up here and take that 9 fame. Now that's a level. That there is a level, sir. 105 fame from 96 plus 9. 105. No change to the reputation. And as a reward for that ruin, I get to recruit a unit from the offer, and I think that means I can grab these ice golems, and I'm going to use them to replace my swordsmen, who were wounded anyway, and I wasn't going to bother with healing. Now, they're active, so I could use them if I was doing anything, but I can't use them for anything because my round is over. Similarly, I'm going to be able to pick a card here and a skill. I like Firebolt, but and I do have the I do have a lot of red mana and that ruby ring floating around to give me more. So this is one that could give me a red crystal, but I'm maxed out right now. So if that's going to be useful, it would be before I assault that city, and therefore probably not too useful. Which means I would spend it for 3 ranged fire attack. If I was spending that same red crystal on this card, it would hurt my reputation, but who gives a crap at that point? It's the end of the round, and reputation doesn't even factor into the end game scoring. So it's, do I want 3 ranged fire or 7 attack? I do have expose, which will strip fortifications, but and that would allow range attacking. This is at least attack 3, even if I don't use a crystal. I think I'm going to grab Intimidate. Just because, like, I wouldn't take it early because of that reputation hit, but who cares now? This just seems like it's a little bit more flexible. And for my skill, I can choose between Shield Mastery. There have been a bunch of times to this point that that would have been useful. But of course now I've got 2 Guardians in tow. I've got Golems that can eat up an attack. They could even eat up the odd attack. This is a co-op skill, so it's a little weird, but using it one player. But even if I don't worry about the co-op aspect of it, I could choose a color other than gold and gain a token of that color, which doesn't sound that great until you realize it can be black. So that's a free black mana anytime during that last night. Oh, that's delicious. The first player who uses mana of that color to power a card that gives movement, influence, or any type of attack gets +4 from that card. I guess depending on what spell I play, that could benefit me. Like if I was playing Mass Expose, I think that gives me some ranged attack. So I could turn that into something nasty. Yeah, I want to do that. I'm going to grab this because I love that idea of having black mana. Now that would give me technically the option of, because I took the bottom skill, I could grab one of these, but having black mana I think is more important than any of these. I'm not too worried about movement right now. I don't have any wounds. This could turn into some points in the end game if I take wounds in that last assault. This will help in an assault, but it's 1 point. I'm going to oh, I dropped them in the wrong thing. I'm going to throw that down just because every once in a while there's a skill or something that allows you to use something from the communal offer, just in case that comes up. I'll go ahead and pull that. Alright, so that's my level. I took this guy down here. Okay. I still haven't even finished my turn yet. But you gain that skill. I think I could technically use this right now if I wanted to. So I could just use that to power crystallize and not use concentration, but I don't think it matters at this point. That's interesting though. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab our mana dice and see what we get when we play the Endless Gem Pouch. Now the rule on this is you roll 2 mana dice, you gain a crystal to your inventory for each basic color you rolled that way. If you roll gold, you get to choose your crystal, and if you roll black, you get 1 fame instead of a crystal. So at this point, it wouldn't be the end of the world if I rolled black, but I just don't want to roll red at this point because that would be a waste. It would give me a red token, which is useless to me at this point. So let's go ahead and grab those dice and have at it. So I could use the dice from the source, and I guess technically I'm going to roll this, right? But that's going back into the source. I'm going to grab my extra dice over here, and we'll see what we get when we roll these guys. I'll come over this way where there's an empty table. and you get a gold and a blue. Okay. So I get a blue token, or blue crystal, and then I get a gold, which means I can choose the color. And then I'm going to be able to play this. I'm going to play concentration to get a blue token, and play that with crystallize to also choose a crystal of any color. So I get 2 freebies now, and I think I'm going to... I definitely want one of them white because I have a bunch of white powered spells in my deck. That one's red. I might choose green just to have at least 2 of everything. Looking through my deck, that's no use to me, but I've got swiftness for range attack. Cold Arms Card of Glory, if that shows up, that would require white. There's a nice unit in the offer. That's, think about. Expose would be white. Chill is blue, but I've already got 2 of those. Whirlwind is white. Mana Storm is white. I've got a lot of white here. I've got some green. But I don't have a ton of green. Other than concentration, I don't have a ton of green. And I'm definitely not taking blue because if nothing else, I've got a blue token from Motivation. And I already have 2. So it's just, do I want 2 greens or do I want 3 white? And right now I'm tempted by 3 white just because it seems like I need white more and more often than I need green. Although it kind of sucks to not have concentration when you need it. But I'll have, in an absolute pinch I could do that, but I don't want to, no, I'm not going to even contemplate that. I'm going to save that for black. Alright, I think I want to make sure that I have white at the end. I might regret that. You never know, I might roll 3 whites in the source. But I could roll 3 greens and have the same issue. Okay, so I'm at 3 reds, 2 blues, 1 green, 3 whites. I will have all of my units, whoops, including the 2 guardians. Now I've got my ice golems here, my heroes. I've got the banner is going to come back to me. And I grab my fame from that. Let's reset all of this. Get rid of that guy. And cleaning up for night 3. I've got 30 cards in my hand. We're going to get rid of our planning card here. We're going to get the dummies skills taken care of as well. Now the dummy is going to add a blue token to his inventory, which I do not care about. And he's going to add a white card, which is great because after all this time he only has 1 white crystal. So that white card comes down here. And most likely I'm not going to be getting any advanced actions. I'm not leveling up again in this game. So that is the dummy player. He still has those 4 greens to worry about, but he's got 21 cards, and 5 of them are green. So less than a quarter. So if the universe does not hate me like it did today, tonight, it's not going to be that big an issue. Alright, so that's where we stand. We'll just get rid of those tokens. We'll draw up, we'll shuffle, and take a look at where we stand for night. pick our tactics, etc., and we will be good to go. But we'll save that for our next video, the final one in our solo conquest playthrough. This time through, we did really well. We took a mage tower to start, we killed a dragon, we rampaged into the city, recruited a unit, got an artifact, and then had some time left over to bop into a ruin, kill a couple more enemies, and snag yet another unit, leaving us with 4 gold units. We've got a decent low tier unit. We've got all our skills. We've got this really nice mana overload. That's very nice for the last turn because I can just grab a black token whenever I feel like it. We don't know yet what city we're facing, and we're not 100% sure which direction we're going because we're going to wait and see what we get into our hand and what units flop in the offer. But I'm going to save all of that drama for next time out. And, well, you know what? Let's finish the setup for night at least, which means we still need to flop the units for next time. Yeah, so we're going to clear the offer and see what we get. And this is still not behaving. Not that I think it matters. I'm nowhere near a monastery anywhere, so it really doesn't matter what comes over here unless some kind of card comes up. But this is a pretty good unit flop. Obviously, I don't give a crap about the thugs here, but catapults are really nice for city assaults, which obviously is the big component of the next round here that we're looking at. And getting elemental siege attack is wonderful. My units are currently I'm lacking severely in range, and I've got the red capes obviously to replace if I want to. The ice golems are pretty nice, and I just went through all that trouble to get them. And 6 ice attack is great, but it's not ranged, and it does take an ice crystal, a blue mana. Whereas if I play that same blue mana with a catapult, I get siege ice 5 as opposed to ice 6. But, and this is really the cherry on top. These guys are just sick. Let's just go through the 3 things that you can do with these guys. The Ultimate Mages. First of all, they have fire and ice resistance, so they can eat damage for you without even getting wounded. Again, both of these are recruitable in the city, which is right next to me, 2 movement points away. So I'm pretty sure this is where I'm going right on turn 1. After all, I have this +1 to my reputation, and I can get 5 influence from my heroes. And I want to say I have something like 4 or 5, I think 5 cards in my hand that can generate influence for me. Maybe more. Stout Resolve obviously could generate massive quantities of influence for me. In a pinch, as we've seen. So I'm looking at, I'm going to be drawing up to 9 cards next round at the very beginning, because I'm still next to the city that I own. So drawing 9 cards is about a third of my deck, and something like a sixth of my cards are influence generating. So I'm going to have no problem, I expect, recruiting these Ultimate Mages. And again, these guys, if I play them just regularly, I can grab 2 mana tokens of any color, which doesn't seem like, that spectacular. But bear in mind, it's of any color. So this is 2 black mana if you want. So you can, if you've got a couple of really nasty spells in your hand, you can just say, hey, mages, do me a solid here and just start toppling walls of cities. That 2 black mana tokens is huge. And having mana overload in my hand is like I made sure to do that so that I had this, and then these guys come down and they can make it even worse for me, or better for me, worse for my enemies. On top of that, if I don't use that, I have cold fire attack or cold fire block 5, and I can increase that all the way up to 9 by playing some mana. Cold fire 9 is just brutal. And then here's the real cherry on the top. If you pay a black mana, and remember, with mana overload, I'm guaranteed to have that black mana. And I got the gem pouch, and I got the ruby ring, which if they show up, I can destroy in order to get black mana. So when I'm assaulting the city, I'm virtually guaranteed to have that black mana that I want to, independent of the source. And then I've got, of course, I might roll black in the source, and then I have something like mana draw, which I can use to generate black mana as well. So I've got a lot of ways to get black mana, and just paying 1 mana for these guys allows me to either take all of the attacks that I play this combat and change them into cold fire attacks, or all of my attacks become siege attacks in addition to any element that they have. That is just plain nasty, and I don't care who you ask. Yeah. So I'm thinking I pretty much know what my first play is going to be here, and that is going to be to bop down into the city and recruit those guys. Maybe both. And I believe, what I'm noticing here, I think I went into this dungeon, if I recall, at the end of the last, I don't know why there's no shield there. Let me go ahead and drop that down there so I don't forget for later. But yeah, I'm thinking I go into this city here and grab those mages for sure. And then what I'm probably going to do is go onto the hill and flop a tile over here, which is actually good because of the tiles that are available and what they have on them terrain-wise. I kind of like that better anyway. So we are in real good shape here. Yeah, I mean, I've got the gem pouch, I've got the ruby ring, I've got mana overload. If I get those ultim mages, I can do some serious damage to that city. So really, I'm not too worried right now about taking that last city. I mean, I wasn't really that worried before, but I know I'm going to be able to take sparing power, and I've got motivation. So before I go into that city, I'm going to be flopping decent size hands. If it's the white, I might have a keep available to me. If it's the green, I've got a magical glade for even more black mana that I can make use of. Let me get these enemy tokens here onto the graveyard, and yeah, we're in, like I said, we're in really good shape. Yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote for this. We're all set for night. Well, I guess we have one more thing to do, which is roll the source for next time out and set ourselves up for nighttime. But other than that, we are pretty much good to go. So let's just go ahead and roll our dice and see what we get. Okay. A black and 2 blues. Well, that's certainly something to play with next time. We did get black in the source, not that, again, because of all those sources that we have a black mana available to us. Not that we really needed it. But yeah, that's where we stand at the end of day 3 with 1 round to go. We are looking at 105 fame. We got a +1 on the reputation. We got some sick units here to take a look at, and we can get them in the city. So initial thought is bop over, recruit at least the mages, probably replacing the red capes, possibly catapults. Catapults might be nicer than the heroes, and I might use the heroes for influence in order to get, certainly if I'm getting both of these. So that might be a play. But certainly I'm going in there and snagging these guys and then looking at coming over here. Of course, we'll have to see what our hand is that we flop if there's just no influence there whatsoever. We'll have to think long and hard about how we get these guys, but they're just so worth it. With them in hand, I don't see too much trouble. We're looking to try to maximize our score at this point, and it's looking like, I mean, if we take out one of these cities, we're looking at, you know, usually a couple of white units, I guess, for just about everybody. Yeah, a couple, 2 or 3 white units and some change. So we're looking at upwards of probably 30 fame if we take that city, which would put us at 135. We might be able to pick up a Rampager or some other site on one of those cities as well, one of those city tiles. Remember, we're going to have a chance to do something before we attack that city. And then we'll get, once you conquer that last city, you have 1 more turn to try to do something. Even if it's just, you know, grabbing an advanced action or 2, that's a few more points in the endgame scoring. Speaking of which, when you're doing solo, you do not get the titles, so you don't get those scores that are going along with the trophies on this card, but I'm going to be getting points for all the spells and artifacts, the units I've recruited, the sites that I've conquered. It's not looking like I'll be adding any wounds. I don't have any currently, so I'm not going to be taking a scoring penalty for greatest beating. I'm going to be looking at least 35 for taking those 2 cities. I'm thinking we're going to be, after we conquer that city, we're going to be, 130, 140, something like that, depending on what else we're able to do on that tile. And then we're going to be adding at least 60 points to our score. So it's looking like we got a pretty good shot at besting, at breaking 200, which is a really great score. Obviously, we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm liking our odds of breaking 200 right here. We've managed to keep a pretty good pace. We've got good units in tow. We're flush with crystals. We got good skills, and we got a lot of influence in our hands. But so because of that, that means we don't have like the most aggressive combat cards in our hand. But it's not like we don't have anything. We got some good combat spells, and those Ultim Mages are going to go a long way towards making us pretty scary in an attack. So that's where we're at. I will leave it there. So all that is left to do is bid you adieu. Thank you for watching. If you found this entertaining, please like, share, subscribe. And we got 1 more round left to make this something special. So let's see what we can do next time. I will see you then. And until then, good hunting, Mage Knights.